It's time to turn to homes today. This will be conducted here by our beautiful hostess, Mrs. Audrey June Forshey. Audrey is a well-known RE/MAX realtor as well as an advisor. Today, she brings forth two well-known guests on our screen, and they are Damien Gladys and Barry Filderman. Here on this set, these professionals, in other words, these three professionals, are caught in a discussion on appraisal management. Appraisal management companies, to be quite exact. Let's see.
Hello friends, thank you for joining us on Homes Today. My name is Audrey Forshey and I'm a RE/MAX agent in Maryland. Today we're going to talk about AMCs, that means appraisal management companies, and how the role of these companies work in your real estate transaction today. So today I have our senior loan officer Barry Filderman from Maryland and our friend Damien Gladys, who is a appraiser, and he's going to talk about how it has kind of changed his industry. But the lender and the appraiser are kind of related to each other, and so I wanted both of them to be here so we could talk about it a little bit from each perspective. So first of all, we now have these things called appraisal management companies. A long time ago when I was a new real estate agent, the appraiser was tied to the lender mostly. It would be a lender that they knew, and the loan officer would call the appraiser directly and they would order the appraisal for your home purchase. And then after the debacle of the housing meltdown, I think it's through the Dodd-Frank bill. Did this AMC come through the Dodd-Frank bill? No.
It came with HVCC,
okay.
The home valuation
that's right.
product with General Attorney Cuomo from New York.
Yes.
So he created it. He created the AMCs,
okay.
Which is the firewall between the lenders and the appraisers, so that we won't have any influence or
on each other.
Or undue pressure from the lenders, yes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Damien.
You're welcome.
So what happened was during the debacle of the housing meltdown, the government felt that the appraiser and the lender had too much of a connection together, and there was too much pressure from the lender to the appraiser to make sure that the appraisal or the property came in at a certain value to make the loan go through. So in an attempt to protect the consumers, they put this firewall, as Damien called it, called an appraisal management company, to be the go-to between the loan officer and the appraiser. They now cannot communicate with each other, so there's no preferential treatment, if you will, or any kind of manipulation. So I'm going to ask Barry, from a loan officer's perspective and having been in the business for a long time, how has this changed how you do your business?
Well, I've been in the business for 30 years, and what it's done is it's taken, and this is my opinion, is it's taken 0.1% of the appraisers, real estate agents, and lenders that abuse the system, and it definitely did occur, and it changed the whole industry in a way where it's not business as usual. And it's unfortunate because that 0.1% has pretty much made it so it's hurt everybody else in the industry. As a lender, we used to have 4, 5, 6 appraisers that we trusted, that were they knew the area we were sending them to. They protected our company because they were professional, and they did things properly. What's happened now is that you have to go to a management company, and then they have a stable of appraisers who we don't know. And what's happened is that the appraisers that you're getting are not familiar because they bid them out, and the ones that take the appraisers are the ones that'll do it for the least amount of money. A lot of appraisers come miles from where they do business to do an appraisal in our county. For instance, you might have someone that works in Anne Arundel County that'll come all the way to Montgomery County because he would do it for the least amount of money. And that appraiser doesn't know the area, and really the quality of appraisals have gone down. People come in low, or appraisers come in low, and we look at them and we go like, what's going on? We don't know who these appraisers are. We can't talk to them. We can't question what they do, and it's made it very difficult. I would much rather deal with someone that I know, I trust, that will protect the company, will come in with a professional appraisal, and will not, 99% of these appraisers are not doing anything out of the ordinary and are not committing fraud like the industry's been accused of.
So if this has probably made it more difficult for you, and so then if Barry, if you as a loan officer had a question for an appraiser once the appraisal comes in, he's not allowed to talk to you directly, Damien, anymore. If hypothetically they were the loan officer and the appraiser attached to a transaction. So there is this wall, they can't talk to each other, and sometimes that can make a problem in our real estate transactions, because the appraisal is one of the most important pieces of your loan that you're getting when you're purchasing a house. You want to make sure that you're paying the right amount for the house, and the lender wants to make sure that they're lending you the appropriate amount of money. So Damien, now to you, the expert. So how has this, the AMCs, how has that changed it for you on your end of the deal? So what happens, tell me what happens when they come and call you for an appraisal.
I have to agree with Barry in all these points that he mentioned earlier. How it works is the AMCs are working as an agent for the lenders.
Okay.
So the moment the lender gets a loan,
Okay.
then they contact the AMC, and the AMC have a panel of appraisers, and they send the orders, the particular order to an appraisal. Now, I have to agree with Barry again. What he said is that it's not necessarily gets an appraisal locally. That's why they're doing broadcasting.
Yes.
So they're doing the lowest bid, and if nobody accepts it within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, they raise that bid to higher value.
So what do they do? They get an order for an appraisal, and then they send it out to a bunch of appraisers?
To a bunch of appraisers.
Okay.
And then whoever's accepted, which is the most desperate, or
the lowest,
the lowest and the
maybe
cheapest, and appraiser, then accepts this order.
Okay.
And that can be Arundel County, Montgomery County. You'd be very lucky to get something like this. You get somebody maybe from West Virginia or maybe Pennsylvania that drives
I've had that.
Yes.
50 miles away.
Yeah.
That they don't even have MLS access. Then I'm going to be licensed for Maryland. They don't know any of the local area, and that's where you get the results that don't get the value they need to value for that particular area.
I have had that happen on my listings.
So you have broadcasting that they're doing for the lowest fee.
Okay.
And the cheapest, pretty much, appraiser.
Okay.
Then you have the bidding that was sent. So they send one order to few appraisers locally, also to, or maybe closer to other counties, and saying it's going to start at 200, let's say, an example, and then raise it $15 to $30.
Okay.
And then whoever accepts it first, then they give it to that appraiser. No question if that's qualified, if it's experienced appraiser, none of that. So that creates a lot of problems as far as,
So if this is supposed to protect the consumers, how now then does the AMC get paid? So I know that when we do our closing costs for the buyer, when we're explaining what you're getting and what you're paying for when you buy a house, the appraisal is on the form, and that's something that you pay for up front for the house. And so I know that it usually runs about $450 to $500 for a normal size house, and larger homes will have more expensive appraisals. So what happens? The bank pays the AMC and then the AMC pays you, or do we have to increase the fees because of the AMC now, because we have to pay them somehow? That now, is that making that more expensive for our consumers?
In any business, the AMCs, as I said, is the firewall, the middleman.
Okay.
So when the average appraisal back before, like in the 80s and 90s, was $350,
Right.
average national.
Right.
If it still stays the same, what is this money the AMC is making?
Okay.
So they're making some money. Everybody's in the business for making some money.
Right.
So what they did is they cut the appraisal fee in half, maybe more than half.
I see.
And they increase, on the other hand, the lender more
Okay.
money.
Okay.
And they're charging the lender a fee, and they give us, less money. So that's where they're making the biggest cut.
I see.
In the whole, appraisal, model. And that also, when we go to Hard One, the appraisers will keep saying for a long time that's unethical if you have a hard one and you have a line saying appraisal fee X amount of money, but that appraisal fee does not specify to the consumer that include also the appraisal management company fee.
I see.
So that's we saying to out loud to the public that this is unethical. This is not what you're supposed to do when you do the hard one. You should explain to the consumer line by line
What they're paying
one
for.
is the appraisal fee that gets paid, and two is the appraisal management company how much gets paid.
I see.
So
And then, so do the AMC companies, if we're doing, let's just say I have a listing and I've had this happen, and I have had, I had an appraisal come in like $200,000 low last year, and it was a mistake. It wasn't done well, and I think the appraiser was from out of town, and the buyer and the agent and everybody.
$200,000.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it later. But anyway,
Okay.
we got a new appraiser
Okay.
because we felt that appraiser wasn't from our local area, and that another appraiser, we got another appraisal done and we were fine. So I think that's one of the issues that you have, that you want to make sure, like you both have said, that the appraisers are local. But what happens if you do have an appraisal that's challenged? How does the consumer or the loan officer, how do they contact you? Do they have to go through the appraisal management company
Yes.
to talk to you?
Yeah.
And then when they ask you questions about the appraisal, can we, so if I'm a listing agent and my listing comes in low, I'll pull in other comparables and go, did you use this one? Did you use this one? Do you get those comps from me through a management company?
Yes, through the management company, yes.
Okay.
So there, in the appraisal business, is whoever orders the appraisal is the client.
Okay.
Whoever they engages the appraisal is the client.
Okay.
It's not who pays for the appraisal.
I
It's
see.
who orders and engages the appraisal.
Oh, okay.
So my clients or the appraiser's clients, since the AMC is now control over 80% of the lending
Okay.
industry, there are the clients.
I see.
So the client orders the appraisal, engages the appraiser to the appraiser. And so the appraiser's clients is the actual AMC.
I see.
So as we said before, it's actually the firewall between anybody, including real estate agents, borrowers, lenders, and us, that any communication has to go through them.
Okay.
So that's good. So any discrepancy with values, you send it to the AMC send it to us, and they tell us there's a discrepancy between this value versus another value.
And do you find that appraisers adjust values if they get new comparables, or do you think that, or do you, if you think they're valid?
If they see that they're missing some comparables and they plug it into the report and they see that it's a chance to change the value, it happens, yes.
It does?
It does
Okay.
happen, yeah.
All right. And so then the AMC, it's the appraiser that makes the value changes, not the AMC. All right. And when you deal with an AMC, is that a person, do you have a person like a one-point contact that you're talking to and all that sort of stuff?
It can be a few. It's just like a large company that they have different representatives.
Okay.
That some of them they send the orders in, they assign the orders to the appraisers. Other them they can be the reviewers that are working for the AMCs, and they can be also appraisers, or I don't know if they're actually qualified to be reviewers or not. I'm not really sure.
Do the mortgage companies, do they have to use an AMC? Is it the law that they have to, or could, if Barry had 4 or 5 hypothetically appraisers that he liked, could he use those appraisers and call them directly? How does that work?
They don't have to use an AMCs. There are other portals they can use. They don't have to be AMCs.
Okay, and
So,
what are those,
it can be
computer portals?
Yeah, computer portals. Mercury Network can be one of them. Appraisal Port is another one. They don't have to use.
Do you use a AMC or a portal?
I have never worked for a company that did not use an AMC.
Okay, all right, okay. And so if the company, what do the appraisers actually work directly for the AMC, or are they contracted? Do they have appraisers on staff and that sort of thing?
There is a new
Model.
issues going on now in the market, that a lot of AMCs are creating that shortage of appraisers, which that's not true. It's a source of appraisers, the ones that are good appraisers qualified did not accept any more orders that are so low in fees. So now the appraisal management companies, they kind of created a whole issue that is a shortage of appraisers, which they're not. So they're trying to now to change the whole model to hire staff appraisers, which they're not allowed to do that based on Dodd-Frank.
Yes.
And that will create another issue, because when you're working for a company, let's say if you're working for a company as an appraiser, and you don't come with a certain value for the client, which is the lender,
There's
will
a
you
conflict of
get-
interest.
Will you be now an unbiased appraiser or not? Will it be a pressure for that appraiser to do certain things for the client or for the employer that works for the client?
So thank you, Damien, for explaining all of that
Of course.
to us.
Thank you for
because
inviting me.
It's a lot of information. Thank you, Barry, for being with us
You're
again.
welcome.
from
Thank you
your
for having me. Thank
from
you.
your perspective. Thank you, friends. We'll see you next time.